If you had the opportunity to work with Rahul Gandhi, would you take it? Your advice to an Indian student preparing to go to college in America with an F1 visa in a few weeks.
We were on the absolute wrong side of what has led to the American-funded genocide against people in Gaza. I got to know Asit Modi the last couple of years and did a set visit to Tarak Mehta Ka Ulta Chashma, and I was like geeking out over this, like one of the most watched shows on the planet. But one of the ways that I started trying to learn Hindi was through episodes of Saath Nibhana Satya.
If you had the opportunity to work with Rahul Gandhi, would you take it?
Like in a movie together?
No. So that's a no.
That's it. I just said in a movie together. We have a lot of cameos in a lot of our movies.
Okay. Okay. You've acted in Designated Survivor. You've represented the White House. Which role was more scripted?
Oh, wow. Look, I am primarily an actor. I'm very proud of having served my country, but I love being an actor more than anything, and that was definitely more scripted.
The White House role was more.
No, the Designated Survivor. You're literally working off of scripts. Yeah.
Okay. Your advice to an Indian student preparing to go to college in America with an F1 visa in a few weeks. One thing they need to worry about, one thing they don't need to worry about.
Do they already have their visa, or are they still waiting for the appointment?
They have their visa. People who already have their visa.
Okay. Then I'm sure, I mean, if they already have their, I was just talking to a friend who's about to start his grad program in the States, and it seems like if you're in that position, you already have all the answers, right? You've been told by the consulate that you have to unlock your social media. So obviously delete anything that you think might be problematic. Unfortunately, as a free speech advocate, it pains me to know that that's the truth of what we're dealing with right now, because I'm not so sensitive that I think we need to be policing people's thoughts. But it's things like that. But also I would say, there is, despite all the news, there's so much support in the US right now for immigrants, both documented and undocumented. And I'm a New Yorker, and I think if you look at the way that New York is rallying around our neighbors and our friends and the people who make the city run, regardless of their status of their papers or whether they're students or doctors or waiters or whoever, we all share the subway together, we all walk down the street together, and we're really all looking out for each other. So take advantage of that sense of community, because it exists there and it's not showing up in the papers.
Okay. The one thing that disappointed you about Obama or his legacy?
Oh, hindsight question, man.
With the 2025 lens.
I mean, 2025 lens, there's so much that I think he would even say, like, oh, I wish we could have gotten X.
You obviously joined him because of something that you felt, you believed.
Yeah, look, there was a lot. Look, the things that that I joined for, that I saw through, like I was only going to do a year at the White House. I ended up staying for 2 years because obviously bureaucracy moves very slowly. So the Affordable Care Act, which was our version of at least an approach towards hopefully one day having universal health care in the US, it was a step towards hopefully achieving that goal. There was something called the DREAM Act, which would have provided a pathway to citizenship for undocumented young people. That failed by 5 Democratic votes. So there were things like that I wish we had gotten through. I mean, look, if you're asking for more specific questions, I can point you to huge conversations. My friends who run the podcast Pod Save America talk about all the time. We were on the absolute wrong side of what has led to the American-funded genocide against people in Gaza. Both political parties, including the Democrats, continue to fund it and continue to vote to fund it. That's abhorrent. It's a mistake. We don't need to be doing that. It won't lead to a two-state solution. Goes without saying, what happened on October 7th was horrific and inexcusable, and what's happened since is also inexcusable. But I think those are things that I wish we were better on. I wish we were better on the arts. I mean, there were things that we did so much on, this delegation to Cuba, for example, but I wish we had codified a lot more of what it means to fund the arts. I think we caved to some political accusations from the Fox Newses of the world, circa 2009, who were saying that the Obama administration was trying to politicize the arts. Now you look at the current president, who's basically gutted public funding for the arts, for journalism, for NPR, PBS, and you just sit there going, I wish we had made those institutions stronger, and I wish we were less naive about how quickly you could dismantle them. So there's like a long list of things, I think, like in hindsight.
It's really funny that, as you know, 10 years ago when you came to India, you came on a much nicer aircraft. I can
I sure did, yeah.
and you came, and I was watching that interview to prepare for this one, and
Yeah.
you were talking about economic cooperation between the two great nations.
Yeah.
And like literally yesterday's newspaper was talking about the 25% tariff on India.
Sure,
So-
yeah. How's that going for us? Well, you're talking about, what he's referring to is I came as part of Obama's second delegation. So,
delegation.
yes, flying on Air Force One and doing press in a pseudo-official context versus being able to wear this and tell you my actual thoughts is different.
Okay, the one thing that feels alien to you about India, and the one thing that feels alien to you about the United States.
Oh, man, oh, these are fun questions. You can, everybody says like, oh, you can get anything at any hour of the day or night in New York City or LA or whatever. Like, okay, that's true. But like, you can literally, last time I was here, I had a cold and I was at a friend's house and he's like, oh, you need some, Himalayan Septinil, whatever. And like, right, you need all these things. I was like, yeah, I'll get them. And he goes, oh no, we'll get it for you. And he just like does two things on his phone. And we continue to like sit 6 feet apart and I'm having some like tea. And there's a knock at the door, like literally 6 minutes later. And the thing that he talked about is there. It's been delivered. So I'm like, that feels really foreign to me. Because the level of engagement technology, obviously, the setup for these companies, I don't know how they work. I'm sure in the comments section will be all of the information about how terrible they are for somebody or the other. That's all valid. So that's one thing that we just don't have.
And what's alien for you in America?
I think what's alien is probably seeing a lot of the reaction of our friends and neighbors to what's happening in the world is on both sides of it is like, what I said for the advice about Indian students who are coming, there's such a strong sense of community that I've seen that's really reassuring. And in a sense, some of that is really foreign because if you're only paying attention to the doom and gloom of the news, you're sort of thinking the world is ending and things are really bad without seeing the people who are rallying around immigrants or standing up for human rights, especially with this famine that we've created, or around the way that we're treating immigrants, by the way, undocumented, documented, green card holders, US citizens. So that both feels foreign and also feels reassuring that I don't think hope is lost, that we need to continue to, especially those of us who are privileged enough to be citizens who have Republican friends, who are friendly with people in the current administration and feel comfortable having those conversations over 2 beers, not 10. To continue to do that and hope that dialogue leads somewhere.
Okay. The one thing that the Democratic Party should have learned but didn't after the thumping victory of Trump.
Dude, they have not done a true look at what went wrong. The DNC was doing testing of everything except what the candidates themselves had done wrong. And it's in some ways a no-brainer. If you look at, I'll just bring this back to Zoran as one example because it's the most recent, right? But for a Democratic Socialist to win the nomination for the Democratic Party for mayor in New York City with a huge coalition, like there was data that came out today, it was like he won 67% of Jewish voters under the age of 45. He won huge numbers of South Asian voters across the spectrum, Hindu, Muslim, across economics. He won every demographic of white voter, if I'm not mistaken, right? So all of the things that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden struggled with, you've got a Zoran Mamdani who won in New York City. And New York went for Trump by double digits over the previous election. And it's not because people suddenly decided that they were conservative. It's because they looked at who is offering solutions for the fact that groceries are too expensive and that I can't afford to live in the city that I love. And they didn't see the Democrats offering anything. They saw Trump offering a version of the plan that he's obviously since abandoned. He's abandoned these people, which is why Zoran was able to capitalize on that and say, here's my plan for actually following through. But so I think that's something the Democrats have not done. They're pointing fingers at everybody except themselves, or maybe I should say ourselves, And so I just think, as of now, it's going to be a missed opportunity.
But is your answer the candidates? Is your answer coming down to the fact that the candidates were wrong to be against Trump?
No. I'm saying that candidates need a plan. Yeah. You need to offer people a plan for what's affecting their real lives. Okay. It's an affordability crisis.
The messaging was wrong. And
the policy was also wrong. It's not just the messaging. It's the policy itself. Okay. I mean, all my grievances that I've rattled off policy-wise, I think apply as well here.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one difference between the right-wing movement in America and the right-wing movement in India.
I need to learn more about the right-wing movement here. You're asking a guy who just got his OCI card. I'm not answering this question. I need to keep it for a while longer.
Okay, the one stereotype you hate about portrayal of Indians in Hollywood.
Oh, man. You know, thankfully...
The top one.
Thankfully, this has changed. But I will say that any stereotype generally stems from a character that's not fully fleshed out, right? So just the fact that stereotypes are just not you're not allowed to be a full human being, and now that's changed a lot, right?
Okay, I'm going to actually jump to this question because it's relevant now. Is the first thing that comes to your mind when I mention the following representation of Indian culture in Western mainstream entertainment? Okay, I'm going to just first thing that comes to your mind, short answers. Slumdog Millionaire.
Oscars.
Okay. Apu and Simpsons.
Regressive.
Dev Shah in Master of None.
Oh man, very relatable.
Okay. Raj Kutrapali in Big Bang Theory.
Really fun.
Okay. Parvati and Padma Patil from the Harry Potter movies. I'm not sure.
I have not seen or read Harry Potter. I know it's a crime.
That's the headline today.
That's the
given the
I need to, yeah.
Okay, Kelly Kapoor in The Office.
Oh, so funny.
Okay, all right. So none of these, except for Apu, has actually made you think that it wasn't fair or not, shouldn't have. You're happy with all of them?
I mean, I wouldn't say it that way. I would just say they all seem to exist in a space that makes sense. And by the way, the Simpsons thing is fascinating to look at. I just remember just being like, there are choices to hire Indian actors to play those characters or those voices. Yeah. I don't think the solution should be let's get rid of Apu.
Yeah.
I think you can hire some brother to voice him.
Yeah.
You know, people change. This sort of also ties into my favorite acting teacher would always say some version of, actors don't own their characters. Their characters belong in the ether of the art, right? So I think because of that, it's you can easily, or the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The actor who played the mom in that switched after the first or second season. And so for a couple episodes, people were like, wait, and then you believe it because it's suspension of disbelief. So it's just things like that. So I don't know, I also think these goalposts change all the time. People would, when Harold and Kumar first came out, people were saying, well, this is so groundbreaking, it's challenging stereotypes. And then as the years went on, you had a new generation of kids who were like, that was so stereotypical, he had to be a doctor. I was like, really? 15 years ago, y'all were excited that he was a stoner. And now you're fixated on the fact that he had to play a doctor, So I think these things are malleable in a way. And the actors you mentioned are all fantastic, and I know them all personally, and I will always root for them and their success.
Okay, the one comic in America you admire who doesn't vote like you.
Oh, well, I don't know how people vote.
I mean, I feel like comics especially they wear their vote on their sleeve.
Not knowing how he votes, I'll go back to Shane Gillis.
Okay.
Because the way I would word it is, it seems like we come from very different worlds, and I value his take on the world, and it seems like the take that a lot of my Republican friends also enjoy. Let's put it that way. But I don't know how he votes.
Okay, Neil Patrick Harris, John Cho, Ryan Reynolds. If you had to bring any one of these of your friends to India, who would you bring first? You can only pick one.
I mean, John I'm closest to, so you always travel with the person you're closest with.
Okay. The one joke
He's also Asian, so you have to explain less. You know what I mean?
All right. There's a story of you kind of almost having offered to take President Obama to a strip club.
No, that's not correct.
No, okay, good.
That took me a second, sorry. So you're setting up a few clickbaity items. I see what you're doing. I'm not mad about it. There was a barber when I lived in D.C. When I first started my White House job. There was a barber a few blocks from the White House, and I had kept a real lid on the fact that I was taking this sabbatical. I was taking a break from acting. Acting is still my first love, all of that. So when I started my job at the White House, it became a news story that I very naively, and there are a few instances of this in my life, but very naively didn't think was going to be like a big story. And so I walk into this barber shop, and this barber was like, "Oh my gosh, you're Kal Penn," and just starts having a conversation with me about the White House and like, I'm not just a barber, I also own a tapas bar. I was like, "You own a tapas bar? I love tapas bars. Like, a little bit of food, a little munchies, have a couple of drinks." And he said, "Well, you should bring your whole office." I was like, "The Office of Public Engagement? We're not allowed to accept free drinks or anything." He goes, "No, but you should just come to my tapas bar. I'll hook it up." And I said, "Well, we're going to have to pay." And I was like, "Okay, awesome." He goes, "How many people in your office?" And I'm like, "Oh, like 40 people. And he jokingly was like, "You should bring the Obamas." And I was like, "Well, I'll see what I can do," knowing full well that like, I'm not going to invite the president out for a staff drinks at a tapas bar. And then he gives me his card after the haircut, and it's like, I can't remember the exact name, but it was like Ronald's Topless Ladies. I was like, "Oh, a topless bar. Okay, no, I thought, sir, that you said tapas, like little finger foodie kind of things, not topless." So then because I was new at the job, I walked in and I had to tell our ethics officer at the White House that like, I just want to make sure, in case this ever becomes a news story, that I did not, in fact, almost take anybody to a strip club or a topless bar. The opposite, in fact. So I'm disclosing this to you. Yeah.
All right, cool. Your view on Elon Musk?
Don't really have one.
Can I give you options?
Sure, yeah.
Genius-
Complicated is the...
Genius, opportunist, genius first, opportunist second, or opportunist first, genius second?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, don't they all go hand in hand at some point? Not just with Elon Musk. I don't know him personally, but like,
Okay.
when you get to a certain level, it's all intermixed, isn't it?
I just thought that for
Also,
any-
sorry to interrupt you. Isn't that the case for any of us? Like, of course, a guy like Elon Musk has way more power than the common man or you and I, even with like degrees of privilege. But I feel like a lot of us are like, "Oh, this choice that I make will have no impact," when in reality, especially in a capitalist society, any choice we make has some impact. I'm not comparing the choice I make to like the influence that an Elon Musk will have, but I feel like for a guy like that, it all goes hand in hand, right?
it just, I felt that this question was relevant to you because of the Democrats. He was at seemingly quite close to at one point. Then he had five Democrats that invite him, and he just became this person who was surprisingly got political, and now he wants to start his own party. And it's just, he seemed to at one point be kingmaker or at least king enabler, and I mean, that election would have been very different without Elon Musk's involvement. I don't know which way it would have gone. Might have still gone the same way, but it would have been a very different election.
Like, I mean, my take on that is he's a colorful guy. I don't think there's any absence of influential people who have been donors or supporters or have worked on political parties in either political camp in the States and sort of globally, right? So I don't know that he is a colorful guy, and I think that's why we're fixated on him. And I think it's not that different from President Trump, right? If you look at his successes, a lot of the things that he accomplished, previous Republican administrations had on their list of what they wanted to get done, whether it was overturning Roe v. Wade, which is women's right to choose in the states, or any number of economic policies or social policies. Republicans, since Nixon or previously, wanted those things done, and Trump got them done. We're fixated on his personality, and I think Democrats, to a fault, are trying to like replicate his personality, which I don't think they should do, because Trump is an Emmy-nominated reality TV star. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to create story and how to get, what we call earned media instead of paid media. He's really good at that. And he's a colorful person. Elon Musk similarly so. So I think sometimes that takes away the focus from real oligarchy and influence that folks like Bernie Sanders or AOC talk about a lot, is like, hey, let's not be distracted by the shiny thing, and let's actually look at like how many hundreds or thousands of Elon Musks there are out there using their influence, and how people together in a real democracy can put a check, or a balance rather, on that check.
Okay. Some advice here. The secret behind the popularity of Korean TV dramas.
Oh man, I ask my cousins this all the time because they're just good. They're juicy. They're fun. Everyone's hot. Like you know.
Okay. So if you okay, is there one thing that you think Indian television can learn from Korean television?
Oh, I don't. I mean, I love both. I'm more versed in American television, obviously,
Yeah.
but okay, Korean TV. And somebody help me with the name of the show because I've only seen a couple episodes. But um, the I think it's like the woman who accidentally parachutes into what's it called? Yes, Crash Landing, right? So I did in grad school. I did one of my theses on Juche, on the North Korean
Yeah.
philosophy of government. So I was like really into the concept of this show. We already said like I'm not precious about genre, right? So like I got to know Asit Modi the last couple of years and did a set visit to Tarak Mehta Ka Ulta Chashma, and I was like geeking out over this, like one of the most watched shows on the planet, right? And it's not everybody's palate. That's very different than like a Delhi crime. But if you look at like what India is turning out and the spectrum of voices and content, I'm like, man, this is so cool.
Yep. 1.4 billion people, 500. news
Yeah,
channels,
exactly.
yeah.
Like I want to be on both shows. You know, like I would love to do episodes of Delhi Crime and Tarak Mehta.
So interesting, just some trivia for you.
Yeah.
There are more than 500 news channels in India.
Okay.
There are more than 141,000 registered publications, newspapers, magazines in India.
And sometimes those news shows have all 141,000 on one screen yelling at each other simultaneously. Yeah.
But there are just two companies that control all of entertainment.
Okay.
It's very interesting right now, television entertainment. Okay, but so you said Tarak Mehta. So Tarak Mehta or Kyo Ki Saas Kabhi Bahu Thi, which one, if you were to choose one episode to watch, you got time, which one will you pick? The new Kyo Ki Saas Kabhi Bahu Thi or Tarak Mehta?
This is hard because, so Hindi is not my first language, it's English and then Gujarati. But one of the ways that I started trying to learn Hindi was through episodes of Saath Nibhana Satya. Because the access of like, the level of Hindi is accessible to somebody who's learning Hindi, right? And they're like super addictive, ridiculous plot lines. So I'll have to go with like a Bosas story.
Okay, all right, fine. The one thing you learned from Irfan Khan.
Oh man, he was incredible. I think the power of communicating through silence, and he would do this throughout a lot of his scenes. But the one in particular that I remember, the two in particular I remember is there's one scene where I'm in high school and he comes into my room, into Gogol's room to give a copy of a book of the Nikolai Gogol collection of short stories. And he just uses silence to convey so much of what his character is thinking and doing. Did something similar in a scene where we're in a car and he tells Gogol about the origin story of his name and why he's named Gogol. And there's very little dialogue in both of these scenes, and he was just such a beautiful, generous performer who we all miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoya Akhtar, Karan Johar, or Meera Nair. You got to do your next.
Oh,
next film.
dude. I love them all and I know them all, so like
So you got your next.
I want to
film.
work with all of them. I mean, I already worked with Mira. I would love to work with her again. I have to pick one.
You'll pick one for your next film. You got offers from all three.
Yeah.
Got to pick one.
that
And
would-
lead character Che.
Lead character છે. તો જે વધારે પૈસા આપે એવું લઈશ. I'm a Guju after all.
Okay. The biggest difference between shooting in India and shooting abroad.
The structure is a bit different. You know, yeah, I just think the rules are a bit more strict in the States, and there are a bunch of reasons for that around the way unions operate, the way the unions are covered. So it's just different, but I like it's not like I don't view it as one is better than the other. I'm always amazed at the way that both kind of come together.
But as an artist, you're able to adapt. And it's not that big a difference in terms of.
It depends on the project. I mean, there can be quite a large difference. I remember doing a film here. I know you're reading my book right now, so I don't want to ruin anything for you. But there was a film I did years ago, not The Namesake, where like, you know, the rule in the U.S. and maybe here to some extent is like, you know, your salary should go into an escrow account before you show up on set. you can't touch that money until you're done with the film, but that way, like, you know, the money's there and nobody can screw you over. And I, against the advice of my agents, got on the plane, came to India to shoot this film, and
You said it's a movie in America.
a movie in India,
A movie in India, and the money goes to an escrow account in America.
It should go to an escrow account in America.
Okay.
But I said, look, in good faith, even though the money's not there, let me just come. And so I came to India and went through the rehearsals. The money still wasn't there. I started shooting. The money still wasn't there. And at one point, some of the Bollywood actors in the project said, like, hey, you know you're not ever going to get paid, right? I was like, no, I am. They're like, no, one day just don't turn up and you'll get paid. I was like, no, I can't do that. I'm a SAG actor. That's our union. I'm like, I'm under
Actors Guild,
yeah, Screen Actors Guild. I'm under a union contract no matter where I am in the world. I can't do that. So the weeks kept going by, and they're like, dude, you're legit just not going to get paid. So with like 3 days left to go, I told everybody on set, I'm not coming tomorrow until I get paid. And the crew was like, yeah, finally, good for you. And the producers were like, okay. And so that second to last day, there's a phone call, sir, your car is ready. And I said, no, actually, I'm not coming today. You can let the driver go. I haven't been paid. And so then, like 10 minutes later, one of the financiers calls, like, Mr. Kal Penn, koi problem hai? I'm like, nahi, kuch problem to nahi
Koi
hai.
problem hai?
Problem nahi. I'm like, nahi, kuch problem nahi hai. I just haven't been paid, so I can't come to work. And we had some strong words after that. And he just goes, okay, just wait in your room. In 2 hours' time, my boy will come. I'm like, in 2 hours, your boy will come. Okay. Now, I will say this as like, Desis, no matter where we are in the world, we're like never on time for anything. And literally 2 hours on the dot, there was a knock at my hotel room door. And I look through the people and I can just see the top of some child's head. And I was like, oh, he literally sent some boy. I'm like, okay. So I open the door and there's like a 58-year-old man who's like 4 feet tall, wearing a shirt with a picture of a panda on it. It says, I love giraffe. And he's holding a brown paper bag, and he hands it to me, and he just goes, count it. And I was like, all right, do you want to come in? And he goes, no. So I closed the door, and I counted it, and it was like half of what the guy owed me in cash. And the phone rings, and he goes, Sab theek hai? And I was like, actually, this is just half of what you owe me. He goes, yeah, the other half you'll receive tomorrow. Like, okay, so I put the money in the safe, fully expecting it to like not be there when I came home from work, right? Fully expecting like somebody to steal my kidney when I get there. And it was just fine. Like I was 4 hours late to work. The crew was like, yeah, finally, like you did what you had to do. The next day they were just ready with the money. Obviously I had to then I had to go back to the States with this cash and declare it and fill out all these forms and whatever. That doesn't usually happen in the States. I'm not saying that happens regularly here anymore, but like there's colorful stories like that. If you're looking for like a juicy how are things different story, I'll give you that one.
I'll tell you where I wanted to also get with that question was every time I go to LA, and I went to LA, I was visiting my friends after many years, a couple of months ago, and I go every couple of years for some reason or the other, and I just see so much more sort of plastic everywhere, right? Like I just see. I mean, I don't know, like if you walk in all the, the Beverly Hills and the Hollywood area,
Yeah.
everyone's got a lib job, everybody's got all kinds. I mean, it's just getting, and it's not only in LA, it's also more, but I feel like more on like in the showman part of the city. And I see that happening in other cities as well. Is that something that you think is again like a new trend? And is that something that you think, I feel like it's catching on all over the world, it's catching on in India as well? That, we had this huge hit right now. It's a film that did 400 crores. The movie's name is Sayara. Sayara's movie name. And the director said that he wanted to cast 2 young leads who had, the main qualification was no work done on the face. And he got the, is that something you think is different, again, like different or in more extreme now? And
So are you asking me because it does or does not look like I've had work done? Like this could go in either way. You're either saying I'm handsome or you're being like, since you're an uggo, how do you feel about the plastic surgery question? I have not experienced this. I think obviously there's some truth to it if somebody's saying that. But I also like, I don't know. I haven't experienced that as much. I think the version of that I can kind of relate to is like, there's, you're always told in drama school, like your instrument is your body.
Yep.
So the expectation of you is to be as malleable as possible through your vehicle for your work that you're doing. So when you hear about like actors going on crazy diets, and sometimes it's a crash diet, sometimes it's not, like, are you washing your face and moisturizing every night in the way that like some of your friends who are accountants maybe don't do? Yeah. Like, yeah, there's all that stuff because you need to take care of what you're doing. But that extra level of stuff, I don't really know folks who have, maybe it's stigmatized and people don't talk about it. It sounds like people talk about it though, but no, I can ask around and get back to you.
Okay. All right, we're going
but what's your answer? Is it because I look good, or I look like a...
No, I thought because you've got the experience,
Yeah.
and B, you're somebody who's, I feel, a very authentic person. So that's why I asked you that question.
Thank you.